we're live. We're back.
Hey,
welcome back for episode. Did we decide on this is 12?
Yes, it's episode 12.
Episode 12, everyone of the Ryan Ripken Show. Happy Monday. Hope your Monday is off to a good start. We got these earpieces in that are probably going to fall out of my...
Ryan's still trying to figure out how they work.
Brutal.
The tech issues all day long have been brutal.
Yeah.
I just want to get through the show. Let's just get through the show. Hopefully nothing will break, and it'll be good.
Yeah, to say it's been a process is an understatement, but the show goes on. That's right. What you got to deal with. We're back again. We're going to break down because it's Monday and everyone's overreacting to the NFL season. That's what we're doing more. I think, Brad, something happened yesterday with the Baltimore Orioles, if I'm not mistaken.
Something happened, yes.
You know, personally, I thought this team, the moment was too bright for them to have any success. But hey, here we are.
Who would have known that Fuji guy was any good either?
Yeah, and who would have thought that everyone in Baltimore would absolutely love the guy? But hey, I digress. I love the fact we're going to dive into that. So what we have on deck for the show today, Orioles clinched the postseason berth yesterday. You saw it, but we're going to talk a little bit about that race series, what it means moving forward. And then we're going to dive into a wild week 2 of the NFL. Great day if you're a Baltimore fan in general, because not only did the Orioles clinch their playoff spot, the Baltimore Ravens go and win a big game on the road, but much more. Am I missing anything else right now?
2-0. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about our favorites games of the week. We're also going to go over what we were right and wrong about on our picks from last week as well. And a guy named Paku, how do you say it?
Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua is taking the NFL by storm. We're going to be talking about him as well. Also, before we get into anything else, breaking here is that Saquon Barkley is going to be out the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes, he is. Which, I mean, if anyone watched the end of that Giants game, which was spectacular, and we'll get into that. But Saquon's out. Big part of their offense. Going to be curious to see what they look like without him in. But luckily, it's not a long-term injury.
Yeah,
they can at least survive, hopefully, for the next couple of weeks.
Hopefully, they can survive on good old Matt Breida.
Yeah,
that's their backup. If you guys haven't checked them out, if you are in fantasy football, go look up Matt Breida. That is going to be the handcuff to Saquon. Obviously, not an adequate replacement, but we'll see what he can do.
We'll see what he can do. But in the meantime, Brad.
Yeah.
The Baltimore Orioles are back in the postseason.
Yes.
They're back in, and not only, of course, they actually, for those that don't know, and if you followed it, the Orioles clinched the postseason berth with the Texas Rangers loss.
Yes. Both the Rays and the Orioles did.
Right. But the thing was, if I'm not mistaken, the Orioles were already to be in after that loss. Technically, we already knew it's technicality, but the way the Orioles did it, right? A comeback win in extra innings, and the celebration was on inside Camden Yards. Yeah,
here, take a look at this video real quick on the actual walk-off, and there is some epic footage of Mike Elias taking a bong rip. So hold on one second. Let's take a look at this roll.
Mullins into center field. It should do it. Margot going back. It does not matter. Adley Rutschman will score. And the Orioles, who clinched a postseason berth just a few minutes ago, seal their fate with a walk-off win. A clincher, a walk-off. Control of the American League East. Now that's not bad for a Sunday.
Yeah, and then that was a pretty awesome moment. What's the 6th time that the Orioles have made the playoffs, the postseason?
In the last 40 years.
In the last 40 years. So enjoy it, O's fans. Enjoy it. Congrats to the ball club in general. And then you have, I just wanted to show this as well. Mike Elias just getting in on the homer hose, whatever they want to call it, dong bong. There's just an epic moment. It's so cool. I can only imagine, and I tweeted this out to you earlier. I was like, I can only imagine what clinching the division or first playoff win or series win in the postseason is gonna look like.
Yeah, what the hell's
that's the celebration of just making the playoffs. Like, what are we in store for next?
Yeah, what the hell's gonna happen if the Orioles win the World Series? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, this is right there. A lot of things. One, these are the moments if you're a player an executive, this is what you build towards. So you're seeing the celebration because you put so much time and effort and sacrifice. And everyone that's growing up that wants to be a Major League Baseball player, don't lie to yourself and say you haven't thought about hitting a walk-off grand slam in the World Series to win it. Yeah, not everyone's going to do that. Most players aren't going to get to this position. But when you grow up, you want to be able to go to the playoffs. You want to be able to celebrate moments. And this is a great moment for a lot of those guys, especially for a lot of the veteran players that have been through the organization where the down years, the team sucked. You're trying to grind and to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And here we are. So guys like Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, even though Ryan Mountcastle debuted in 2020, he's been in the organization for a while. Anthony Santander. I mean, the list goes on and on. Just an awesome moment, to say the least. It gives me goosebumps because that's something that everyone hopes to achieve if you play professional baseball.
Yeah, and what I thought was cool too, some of the footage was of like the media, like Kevin Brown was in on that as well.
Yeah.
And our very own Rocco DeSangro was also in on that party too. So that was pretty cool to see as well. But yeah, man, just a cool moment for the Orioles. They start their series against the Astros today. So I maybe give them a little pass if they lose the game today.
Hey, sometimes you play better hungover.
Personal experience, right?
Hey, I will say this. You will do anything to get out of a slump. And also, you're going to celebrate. And that's not going to stop you. These are pros. They'll go out there. The Astros are on deck. But, hey, I want to just touch on this Rays series for a second because you could feel the tension in the air in Baltimore when the Orioles dropped the first two.
Yeah.
But, hey, hasn't the MO for the team been they're going to keep bouncing back?
Right.
And the world's not ending. And the thing that a lot of common comments were, this team was too young, this moment's too big. And I think the reality of it is the Rays are a really good team. The Orioles are a really good team. And actually, this series, if you want to go back and dissect everything that happened, it was absolutely a heavyweight bout.
Oh, God.
The first game of the series, back and forth, Rays take it. Second one, the Rays punch the Orioles in the mouth. Then what happens? The Orioles punch right back. And then you have this back and forth game in game 4. Neither team's backing down, and the Orioles squeeze it out. It really was an extremely entertaining series, and you can see why both are the top in the American League right now.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the more entertaining moments, too, was just seeing Fuji go nuts. I mean, look at that face.
How do you not like this guy? Honestly, how can you not like this guy? And you're not telling me he's not enjoying himself in Berlin right now?
Oh my God.
You kidding me? And this is also great for so many reasons. One, he feels like he's comfortable here.
Yeah.
And I can't discredit, or I can't emphasize that enough. Being in a place where you feel that you belong, that you're comfortable, that you like the environment, that looks like a guy for me that I know he has the ties to Japan and being on the West Coast if he stays in America. But that looks like a guy that loves being in Baltimore and is embracing what this culture is. And I want to see that dude be here because I think he's going to be an absolute stud, and he already is, but he's going to, we haven't seen the best of Fujinami in a Baltimore Orioles uniform.
I agree. It's a ton of fun to watch. And we've been pumped on Fuji ever since he got traded here. And so it's just good to see that he finally figured it out. Because, in the beginning there was, a little bit of cause for concern. Not that we weren't confident in Fuji, but, just that he had that big game that he kind of fell apart on the Blue Jays, and then fully admitted that he wasn't comfortable. So obviously it's good to see that now he is. And so, I'm just excited to see him in the postseason, bro.
I am too. I mean, I'm excited for this whole team, but hey, the job's not done. This is just the first step, the first process. But what we do know now is that the Orioles have the tiebreaker over the Rays, and that you have a 2-game lead with 2 weeks to go.
Yep.
Now, if you continue, what I've said the whole time, motto, I think my motto now. I'm going to quiz you, Brad. What is it?
Don't get swept, and don't get swept.
Hey, you're close enough. We're going to reverse it. Rocco, you have no pass when he listens to this.
Rock, yeah.
Win the series, and if you can't win it, don't get swept. The Orioles have done it the entire season.
Yep.
And here you are. You continue that now. You are going to be the American League East champs. It's going to run through Baltimore. even though the Orioles have proven they're just as good, if not of a better team on the road.
Yeah.
But that's just gonna bode well. But here it is, everything's in front of you. This Astros series is gonna be tough, and I still think Houston's the team to beat till they're not. But you got to be happy in Birdland and ecstatic for that group, because there's really nothing like playoff baseball in Baltimore, and we are this close to seeing that in action.
Yeah, I don't think America knows how much of a baseball town Baltimore actually is. Because I mean, you come to visit Baltimore, people are baseball people here. It's just that, the Orioles haven't been doing well for 2 generations essentially, and so like it's been hard to really get excited. But I mean, when Buck was here and the Orioles made that run, I mean, this town was electric.
Oh yeah, go watch that Delman Young double down the line.
People still reminisce about that, and they compared yesterday's game to that. So like, wait till the postseason gets here, guys. For those of you who might be watching that don't live in the Baltimore area, it's going to get bananas here in the city for sure.
Hey, let's answer this question real quickly. So how many wins would they need for you to feel comfortable with them winning the division? Well, they're 2 games up. I'll put it this way. Let's go by series real quickly. I think that gives a better indication for me. Don't get swept. I think getting swept is the worst case scenario in any situation, because if the Rays get hot for one series, that's where you can see everything flip, right?
Right.
So don't give them that opportunity. Personally, for me, if we're looking at down the stretch right now, the Orioles are at 93 wins. I honestly think that leaves us now, my math's off. It's 149 games they're through, so they have 13 left if I'm doing my math right.
Yes.
So they have 13 games left. I think 8-5 no doubt gets it, in my opinion. I still think 7-6 could do the trick, because the only reason I'm saying this is the Orioles do have a lighter schedule. The Rays still have to play the Blue Jays 6 more times.
Oh, wow.
They still have to play the Blue Jays 6 more times, and that to me is going to tell a lot. And Toronto has a lot to play for. Not that the Orioles don't have teams that have stuff, things on the line, but if you look at that, they play the Astros and they play a struggling Guardians team. You need to try to take care of the Guardians. Right. Then you get the Nationals and the Red Sox at home that are – the Orioles have played really well against the Red Sox.
Yep.
So you like your odds. So that's where I think right now Orioles staying above 500, I think it gets the job done. Unless Tampa goes on this huge run, I think 100 to 101 wins is going to get Baltimore that AL East title.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Cool.
What are we moving on to next?
Shall we move into the NFL weekend?
Let's do it.
Been a wild NFL weekend. It's
it's never not one.
It's never not. While we're on the subject of it then, because it was just a great weekend and Sunday in Baltimore, let's just start it off with one of the storylines of the NFL, and we'll dive back into our decisions on disappointing teams and 2-0 and all that stuff. Because there was 5 games we covered from week 2.
Yeah.
One, of course, being the Ravens and the Bengals.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how high the vibes were that the Ravens went into Cincy.
Yes.
And won a game where it really felt like they were in control from the get-go.
Yeah, they really were. And there was like the score, I don't think tells the whole story of that game.
No,
because of the way that the Ravens dominated time of possession, the offensive plays, and winning the turnover battle usually always ends up winning you the game, unless you're the Chargers, of course. But we'll get into that in just a few moments. But it was a really convincing win despite what the scoreboard said.
Yeah, I mean, not that you are going to there's no excuses when you play in any professional sport.
Right.
And so everyone looked, the Ravens are down stars. You're down Marcus Williams. You don't have Marlon Humphrey. You're missing 2 of your best offensive linemen. You're all pro left tackle, and then your star-studded center, who I believe Tyler Linderbaum is. But people don't give a shit.
No.
People don't care if you're the most injury-plagued team or not. You got to go out there and perform. Just like on the flip side, no one's feeling bad for the Bengals dealing with issues with Joe Burrow.
Right.
And so we're playing right now, just highlights over top, courtesy of the Ravens. This deep ball, this was gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah.
And how about his performance coming back? Maybe not the same usage that he had in week 1, but still his presence was felt in this game.
Well, they did 2 jet sweeps right after this play with Zay.
He was gassed.
I think they were trying to. They were just trying to get him to get a tud. I think that's really what it came down to. If they were trying to get Zay in the end zone.
For fantasy, I would want nothing more than Zay to score a touchdown there. But at the same time, I actually wrote that in my friends group. Hey, I'm all for a Zay Flowers touchdown here. Believe me. But we need to punch this thing in. And then you go to a Mr. Reliable, Mark Andrews scores a touchdown. The only thing that really concerned me in this game was that the Ravens felt like they dominated that first half, which they did, but it was a 3-point game.
Right.
Because of that punt return. And then you're in the back of your mind, it just had that, I'll admit, I had that thought of, man, are the Bengals going to luck out and find a way to win this game? But the reality was it wasn't. And actually there was the one turnover, Geno Stone, people were ripping on him for not turning upfield. That was a monumental play, stole points away from the Bengals. And then it really felt like the Ravens never looked back.
Yeah. And just kind of looking to see, Mark Andrews on there too. You guys just saw reaching over. It's like good to see that Marco's back and kind of getting in that tub was also good to see. But man, one thing that I'll say that I thought was awesome was that you weren't just seeing Lamar rely on Mark Andrews. You weren't just seeing Lamar rely on one target. And we've seen this over the last couple of games now where like he is spreading the ball around everywhere. Well, another encouraging thing, if silver lining, if you will, OBJ goes down with an ankle injury. John Harbaugh comes out today, says it's not going to be a big deal, but we didn't skip a beat. The Ravens just kept on trucking along. Why? Because there's actual depth at the wide receiver position, and that's something that I've never been able to say so long as the Ravens have been here, which is pretty amazing. Nelson Aguilar stepped up, and Lamar threw an amazing pass down there in the corner. I thought that it was just awesome to see that, it was not great that OBJ went down and had to sit out the rest of the game. But, we got plenty of other weapons there that got the job done. And it was awesome. Lamar looked really confident out there, way more confident than he did the first game. And I think that this is just a trend that's just getting started.
Yeah. And this to keep going with that, Nelson Aguilar actually was the Ravens' leading receiver, 63 yards on 5 catches.
Yeah.
Let's go through targets real quick because this is a great point that to spread it out. Nelson Aguilar, 6 targets. Zay Flowers, 5. Mark Andrews, 8. Odell, 4. Rashad Bateman, 3. Justice Hill, 3. Likely 3. Duvernay, 3. That variety ultimately might give you a headache in fantasy football, but in real life football, that's tremendous. And the fact that Nelson Aguilar on the depth chart being the 4th wide receiver for the Ravens to step in, make a play, and you feel really comfortable with who you have, that's incredible. The other thing that was very great for the Ravens was they ran the football very well. Yeah. And not that, of course, it helps when you have Lamar Jackson being able to scramble, and that can help you. This is what I love to see. If you have a depleted offensive line, which I thought the offensive line played tremendously given their injuries.
Yeah.
But when you have number 8 back there, it's going to allow you to get away with more because he's so elusive, because he's able to extend the play. And you saw that. But Gus Edwards stepping right in, 10 carries, 62 yards. Gus Bus, really, his presence was felt. And the Ravens, quite frankly, going to team stats here, they outgained the Bengals 415 to 282. They had more passing yards, 237 to 216. And on the last part of it, rushing, the biggest difference, 178 to 66. Complete game for the team. And to us, it's not even the best that they can be.
Right. Yeah. And I said this before Dobbins even went down that, put Gus anywhere else in the NFL and he's a starting running back. It just so happens that now he's a starting running back for us. So I'm not worried about the backfield at this point at all. There's depth there. We have depth at the wide receiver position. So I'm super pumped. I have nothing that I feel like we need to be worried about as Ravens fans. And I'm looking forward to next week, man. Colts coming into town, and we should be able to take care of business, no problem, and go 3-0.
So on the flip side, with the Ravens being 3-0, for the Bengals now, you're 0-2 in the division, and I know the Bengals were 0-2 last year. This shit does not feel the same as last year.
It does not. And, that was the first time that anybody in the Super Bowl era, any team in the Super Bowl era, actually made it to the playoffs after starting 0-2. So for them to do that again with an injured Joe Burrow, and listen, and hear me out. This is my hear me out for this week.
No panic Monday.
Yeah. So overreaction here. whatever you want to call it, but Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals are not making the playoffs this year. And it is because Joe Burrow is not healthy. I think that that he should have sat out at least 1 or 2 more weeks. So if they would have gone 0-2 and a healthy Joe Burrow was coming back next week, I probably would feel a lot more different about the Bengals than I do right now. But the fact of the matter is that calf injury is stingy. And we've seen that from other players before. So it's going to take him a while now because he keeps aggravating it to actually get fully healthy. And when you have a player like Joe Burrow in a quarterback position who's using their legs to make throws, to get out of the pocket, to extend plays, he's not going to be able to do that like he has in the past. And, with what we're seeing in these first 2 weeks, I just don't see how the Bengals can overcome this, especially. And then look at this. If they sit him next week, probably a good chance that they lose against the Rams no matter what. Well, I don't even know who
it's at home, but the Rams are playing very competitive football right now. And
yeah.
Matthew Stafford is a legit dude and still is reminding people when he's healthy that guy can go out there and play the quarterback position extremely well. But looking at that, they got the Rams. Then you got to go to Tennessee. That's not a walk in the park. No. Tennessee keeps coming. And then
that game this week with Tennessee was against the Seahawks. It's
crazy. And we're going to get into that too. But then you got to play the Seahawks. You got to play the Niners. You got to play the Bills. Tough sledding. And by the way, you still have 4 more games in your division.
Yeah.
And you have to go back to Baltimore. You have to go to Pittsburgh. Going to be more of a challenge.
Yeah. 100%.
So, hey, but no one.
So then is it an overreaction? Are the Bengals done?
No, you can't say that they're done. But again, I think, and this is actually interesting in Vegas. Going to Vegas for a second, guess who's now the favorite to win the AFC North?
Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens have about, you put down $100, you win 100. It's plus 100 odds. Some have it at 125. The Browns now are sitting with the second best odds. The Bengals have dropped to third, slightly ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, just to give the context. But I think this Bengals team does not feel like the same one. Last year, they turned the ball over and they made some mistakes to lose games. This one, it just hasn't felt like that they put together a game that they deserve to win through 2 weeks.
So you're not saying that the Bengals are done yet?
I'm not saying they're done yet because the competitive with it, I think their chances of winning the division are done. I will say that. I think winning the division's over, and it all comes down if Joe Burrow does not play or he is not going to be able to get back.
Yeah.
This team's doesn't have a chance.
I mean, watching him limp up to shake Lamar's hand at the end of the game was pretty concerning. And I would be concerned if you were a Bengals fan.
Well, it's the same thing. We're talking about with Lamar Jackson. I mean, this is the reality. We didn't even touch on this. People can say all they want. It's different teams and it's a team sport in different years. Lamar Jackson, when he plays against Cincinnati, he's 7-1 as a starter.
Yeah.
He's 7-1. So the Lamar effect for the Ravens, it's evident. The same can be said with Joe Burrow.
Right.
When Joe Burrow's not going to be there, this Bengals team does not have what it takes then to get to the next level, just like it is with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So that was a wild game. Another storyline we wanted to jump right into, and we've talked about it a lot, but Packers and the Falcons. And actually, it's funny. You were getting chirped a little bit on there about the Falcons could be an easier game, but I'll tell you what, the Atlanta Falcons, what a comeback for them. Down 12 in the fourth quarter, steal one against the Falcons. But honestly, Brad, did they really steal it, or are the Falcons like sneaky good?
Verdict's still out for me. I mean, look, the Packers look really good for 3 quarters and somehow shit the bed in the fourth. So I'm not really ready to say that the Falcons are for real just yet. I think it's too early. Was it a great game? What did I expect the NFC South to look as good as they have so far? I mean, we have potentially 3 2-0 teams that are going to end week 2 in the NFC South. If you'd asked me that in the beginning of the season, I would have said you're nuts. But if the Saints come out with a win today, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have the Saints, the Falcons, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are going to be 2-0, which I'm just kind of blown away by. So I'm going to say, just because the Falcons are still very one-dimensional, they need a couple of pieces to actually be really good. But Bijan Robinson is that dude, and he was the one that took over that game and really kind of was the difference maker and why they ended up getting the dub.
Bijan's a stud, and you can see why we're saying about does running back position matter? Oh, it matters. They might not want to pay him on the second contract, but when you get him, there's a reason why, and especially for this Falcons team where they want to just run and pound the rock. And that was my one concern in this game. Could they come back from a deficit where they got to force Desmond Ridder to make more throws? And actually, if you scroll down a little bit right there, receiving wise, this is something that's interesting to me. Drake London came back to life. He had 0 receptions last week. He had 6 for 67 and a touchdown. But the fact that the Packers blew a 12-point lead, and maybe this tells more of a picture. The Falcons really dominated almost everything when you want to think about it. If you go down, I have in the team stats on my page here. But if there it is right there, looking at receiving, Bijan's involved in it.
Yeah.
So he had 19 carries on the day. Then you add in 4 receptions for 48. The guy he combined for over 170 yards of total offense for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Tyler Algier had 16 carries, but let's paint this picture a little bit clearer. Falcons had 446 yards to Green Bay's 224. They had 27 first downs compared to Green Bay's 7. They did turn the ball over, but they had time of possession, controlled it for 36 minutes compared to the Packers' 23-45. So Falcons, they proved that they could come back from a deficit, double-digit deficit with about 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And damn.
They had 13 unanswered points. Quarter.
And you know what? So you can make the point the Packers didn't do enough to close out the game. But for the second start for Jordan Love, not having Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, 2 of your top playmakers, I still thought he did a phenomenal job. And at the end of the day, he threw another 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he threw another 3 touchdowns. He was 14 for 25. I mean, I'm still on the Jordan Love train.
Oh, I'm not off it at all.
On the Love train still. I had a lot of feedback from viewers claiming that, they're not ready to be on that train, but I'm still there, never left. And yeah, I mean, 14 for 25, 151 and 3 touchdown passes. I mean, talk about efficient. The guy was that. A couple inaccurate throws, but it's to be expected from a rookie quarterback. Or not a rookie quarterback, but
he really is. This was his second career road start.
Yeah.
His first one was in Kansas City with everything when Rodgers had to miss it during the COVID year.
Right.
And the fact that you're missing your top 2 weapons, it to me, it says a lot. I think he's great. And I do think the Packers are going to be right in it for the NFC North, especially when they get healthy. And we're going to talk to that NFC North is kind of wide open. The Lions could have taken a little bit more control, but obviously the Seahawks had something to say on the game on Sunday. And I think we're going to see a very competitive division. But shout out to the Falcons. I think their style of football is the most different than any other team in football now.
Yeah.
They're kind of being like what the Ravens were in 2019. Want to run the ball. But if they can control the clock like they did, they're going to have a chance to win a lot more games than people might have expected.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that being said, with the Packers, let's stay in the NFC North.
Let's do it.
The Bears and the Bucks. And I feel like it's the same storyline, just a different week. And that's the fact that Justin Fields and the Bears go on the road this time, lose the game to the Bucks, which was a more competitive game. But in the end, they fall. And actually, they had a chance at the end with Justin Fields to make a comeback, 1 possession game, and a pick 6 at the goal line on a screen pass, which was almost the same screen pass they ran the play before, ultimately puts the game on ice. Fields throws another interception, and the Bears walk out 0-2. Man.
And Baker Mayfield is 2-0.
How about that? How about that, everyone? And everyone thought that Baker Mayfield was going to hold back this Buccaneers offense.
Yeah, it was 26 for 34, 317 and a tud. Mike Evans also doing well out there still, just doing Mike Evans things. I don't understand why there was so much hype around Justin Fields in the offseason. Everybody thought that he was going to have an MVP type year, this was his breakout season. What, because of DJ Moore? Is that why? I'm trying to figure out why there was so much hype around Justin Fields, and now we're just seeing him fall flat and potentially not even be with the Bears after this season. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know why this is shaping up to like it is. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to watching the quarterback school breaks down the whole film. And he said, unfortunately, on his page, it goes 90 minutes to break down this last one. And he said,
Wow.
I'm sorry, Bears fans. I think it's a combination. I think the part that was more discouraged or was encouraging than discouraging, Justin Fields started off the game with 65 yards, and they were to DJ Moore. DJ Moore had a great game. He had 6 catches for 104 yards.
Which is different than the last week, because last week DJ Moore was not even a part of the game.
No, he was involved in the game plan. So they get off to that hot start, but then after that 65 yards on the first drive, Fields finishes with 211 on the game. I think the shocking part, and it's still, people forget the Bucs still have a very solid front seven, good pass rush, but they really contained Justin Fields. He had 4 carries for 3 yards on the day, and he's supposed to have this dynamic playmaking. And actually, this was a tweet that that was put out earlier today, and I thought it was really, really interesting. The Bears have had Justin Fields start 27 games so far in the NFL. Shout out Ari for the tweet. They're 5-22. It's been sacked 101 times. That can't be right.
That is wild.
101 times. Completion percentage below 60, 26 TDs to 25 INTs, 31 fumbles, only 8 lost, but 31 fumbles, averaging 156 passing yards a game. And after rushing for over 1,000, the Bears have only had Fields carry the ball 13 times in 2 games. I don't know what to exactly make of all of it.
This also, Chicago's going 0-3, folks. If you're a Bears fan, sorry.
No. Yeah.
They play the Chiefs next week as well. So it doesn't get any easier. And the schedule for the Bears is also after the Chiefs doesn't get any easier as well. Did you have the schedule pulled up? We looked at the schedule earlier.
It's bad.
But like it is not good.
No.
Overreaction Monday, the Bears season's over.
Well,
if they didn't win these first 2 games, they're not winning the next 3.
So they got the Chiefs, then they play the Denver Broncos that like to blow games right now themselves.
Well, true.
Then you go to play the Commanders, still advantage the Commanders. Play Minnesota, advantage Vikings, Raiders, Chargers. Oh man, keeps going. Raiders, Chargers, Saints, and then you play a rookie quarterback in the Panthers.
Well, and then you have Jordan Love and the Packers playing like they are, and I mean, the Vikings are still in there, but the Lions are also playing good, even though they lost.
There's only going to be 2 games moving forward where they're actually going to probably be favored, potentially. That's against the Panthers, and that's against the Arizona Cardinals.
Season's over. Overreaction.
So the thing I'll say with this, and it does bother, Justin Fields is so talented. And there's and so part of it, someone brought this up, and I'm going to try to find it and give credit to it later, but he's exactly right. Coaching does matter in the NFL. At any level, it matters.
More than one person said that.
Yes. So fair enough. But the point is, yes, Justin Fields deserves blame for holding on to the ball too long, not making the right reads. But on the flip side, putting someone in a position to have success. And I don't think the Bears have necessarily done that, especially that year 2 for Justin Fields. They went and got DJ Moore this past year. They didn't have any weapons last year. And then he showed his rushing ability.
Right.
Now he feels that he's got to be more in the pocket, or maybe they're containing him. I don't know. But you're not seeing that skill set on display. And as a result, the team's 0-2. And the defense for the Bears actually held up decently well despite the numbers. Not ideal, but it was a 20-17 game until that pick 6. And it was late in the game, and the Bears defense gave you a chance to get the ball back, to go take the lead.
Yeah, but bro, they didn't get to the quarterback once.
Oh, no, I agree. But my point is,
Baker Mayfield was not dirty.
No, of course. But my point is, a 20-17 game late in the 4th quarter, your team gave you a chance on the road.
Okay.
That was the point that I was trying to get to. The other part is you got to learn how to guard Mike Evans, but a lot of teams have struggled with that over the years. 6 catches, 171.
Tell me something I don't know. All right.
And for those that thought Mike Evans is going to drop off in fantasy, or Chris Godwin, those guys are still balling out. And maybe the Bucs, maybe that's the other overreaction. Maybe the Bucs really could end up winning this NFC South
if all of their personnel stay healthy. If Mike Evans goes down, Godwin goes down, one of those key players goes down, it may be all over. So like that is the most fragile part of this team right now, is that if they all stay healthy, then Tampa Bay looks like they could be dangerous in the division. But if they don't, then that's going to be a big problem. And obviously, as we all know, that injuries are just bound to happen in the NFL. So we'll see. But if you're a Bucs fan, I'd be excited right now.
Oh,
I'd be pumped.
for sure. You know, a cool moment that I just want to touch on real quickly is Shaquille Barrett secured the Bucks win with the pick 6.
Yeah.
And then he blew a kiss up to the skies. He lost his daughter earlier in the off season. And so it was a moment for him, and they talked about it. And I can't even imagine going through that. But it was a moment that he was able to dedicate to his daughter, and he even touched on it after, saying it was it was a moment for me to acknowledge, tell her I love her. And Shaq Barrett, to see him continue to make plays, continuing to move forward. You can never get over a loss like that in your life, obviously. But I just thought it was a cool moment that he could dedicate to his daughter on what turned out to be, the game-winning play for his team.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So the Bucks 2-0, Bears, woof woof. Sorry, Bears fans. I do want to see them do well. Chase Claypool at least had a better effort as well. I feel he's been getting roasted. I don't feel bad he's being roasted. He hasn't put the best effort ahead.
Yeah,
but
well, maybe next year, Bears.
Yeah, maybe next year. What do we got next on the docket?
Chiefs Jags. This was also a weird one for me because, the Chiefs won, but they didn't win at the hands of Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce did get a touchdown. Okay. But really, the difference maker here, why the Chiefs won that game, was the defense. Chris Jones took over this game, and that's what really kept the Jags or the Chiefs in it, because had it not been for that defense, the Jags would have taken over this game. And because Jags defense also wasn't bad either, by the way. They held the Chiefs to 17 points. So I think that I don't want to say that and obviously it's overreaction Monday, but I don't want to say that the Chiefs are in trouble, but if they don't figure out the offense here soon and develop their wide receivers, they're very young, talented wide receivers. If they don't, except for MVS, which I don't know. I don't think MVS was ever meant to be an R1 anyway, but I think that they need to figure something out with their wide receivers and get Patrick Mahomes and them gelling like they should be. Otherwise, it could become dangerous getting late into the season if they don't figure that out.
Well, luckily they have the fortune of they play the Bears next week. That could be a good way to get back on track.
Yes.
They
should be a good confidence
They
booster.
play the Jets, which the defense for the Jets is tough, but the Jets are going to have trouble scoring points without Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you play the Denver Broncos, who are also, that's the following week. You get the Vikings, then you play the Denver Broncos. So you have time to, but this was the weird part of the game for me, is that the Chiefs turned the ball over 3 times. Jaguars only once.
Right.
And the Chiefs won by 8.
Yeah.
Very odd game in general. And especially when you felt like Trevor Lawrence this was the big moment. We actually talked about it last week. Even though this is not a make or break by any means in any situation, but when you get a chance at a Super Bowl champ defending, who's going to be still the favorites in the conference, and this is your shot, even though it's early.
Yep.
Can you be prepared? And it's at home. And you had Trevor Lawrence 22 of 41 for 216. So almost a 50% completion percentage, sacked 4 times. Unfortunately, just was not good enough for the team, but I still believe in the Chiefs. I think the fact that their defense is even playing better is scary for everyone else. I'll go to the flip side. If the Chiefs offense gets going, then the Chiefs deservedly so should be the number one. Or sorry, the offense gets going, then the Chiefs deservedly so will be the number one option.
Well, especially if the defense keeps playing like they do.
With the Baltimore Ravens, though, I do think Baltimore has jumped up into that conversation. That maybe is my overreaction for Monday, but I do think the Chiefs and Ravens are the top 2 teams.
Yeah. How about Chris Jones just coming in? No practice, no summer camp, no nothing. And he just comes in like he just owned the place, has been around like nothing happened. Just showed up and balled out.
We talk about a guy where it doesn't matter that you're going to go out there and perform.
Yeah.
And this was the knock the Chiefs got, is this defense is nothing without Chris Jones. Then it went, well, shit, they were actually pretty solid without Chris Jones. And then it's now, oh fuck, they're a really good unit right now after 2 weeks with Chris Jones. I mean, the Lions offense is solid.
Yeah.
And you did,
as we saw this past week,
and you did a tremendous job against them. Jacksonville's an offense that has really tremendous pieces, and you hold them to 9 points. Really was tremendous, and I do think that the Chiefs coaching staff and Steve Spagnuolo as the defensive coordinator has been around the block. He's got his pieces, and they have guys believing early that they can go out there and stop everyone. And the Chiefs are still going to be favored to win. I'm not buying any of that bullshit that the Chiefs are not going to be the favorites and are going to win the AFC West. They're going to win the AFC West.
Here's what I will say. Eric Bieniemy's presence or lack thereof is certainly felt on that squad.
Oh, that's that's interesting.
I mean, you just look at the average points scored with the Commanders versus the Chiefs right now, and I think that certainly paints a little bit of a picture. I think people could start thinking about that because Eric Bieniemy has certainly made a difference on the Commanders right now. Sam Howell looks pretty darn good, and we're going to see how the Commanders stack up against some really solid teams because the last 2 weeks they're against some pretty soft teams. But I think that it certainly looks like Eric, the lack of Eric Bieniemy's presence on the Chiefs is being felt in the moment right now. We'll see. I mean, Andy Reid has worked wonders on developing wide receivers. I'm sure he'll be just fine doing it here as well this season with who he has. Kadarius Toney didn't drop any balls this week, so I guess they're happy about that. And so if he continues to do that, maybe we'll see. But yeah, so I do think that's been a big difference so far for the Chiefs this season.
Well, and also then the other guy, Travis Kelce, is not fully healthy yet. You know?
Right.
And yeah, granted, he had 9 targets, but he had 4 catches for 26. That's ultimately going to get better. He's a stud, but he's not 100%. But clearly, if he doesn't play, you need to figure out who's your guy or who's the guys that you can depend on, because that was a serious question mark.
Right.
And even though Kelce hopefully should be good the rest of the year, bone bruise, and he's by it, there is always the possibility then if he gets hurt, your offense looks completely different.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to watch and I guess exciting to watch in some cases, but exciting to watch. I think that's a great way to go. What was one of your most exciting games?
Mine was the Giants game. For them to come back the way they did, it was just unbelievable. And actually, it was so unbelievable that it was the first time that they've done that in the Super Bowl era. So they haven't had a comeback of 20 points or more like that since 1949. Daniel Jones and the Giants also had given up 60 points unanswered for the season so far, and then came back like that. I think to me that just shows that they just weren't willing to give up just yet.
No.
I mean, things look so bleak, right? But it was just such an amazing game for them to come back like they did. I don't know. That was one of the more exciting games for me. Daniel Jones is still a dude. There's a reason they paid the guy $40 million a year. And, I think the Giants are better than what they've showed over the last 2 weeks. And that last half of the game yesterday kind of showed that the Giants are still the Giants. They still have some improvements to make. But obviously Saquon Barkley being out for the next 2-3 weeks is going to put a damper on things. But I liked that game. It was good to see. It's good to see the Giants aren't as bad as they have showed over the last week and a half, we'll call it.
Well, and that's a culture change right there.
Yeah.
The fact, so we're not going to sugarcoat it. Those are probably the worst 6 quarters you could ever play to start out the season. The Giants were outscored 60-0 through the first 6 quarters of the NFL season. And maybe the old Giants, the last couple coaching staffs, that would have resulted in them laying over.
Yeah.
But with Brian Daboll at the helm and Daniel Jones showing that he has playmaking ability and did it with his legs and his arm. I mean, Daniel Jones ran for 9 carries, 59 yards, and then threw for over 300 yards and led the comeback. And yes, this was against the Cardinals team that everyone's expecting to not be very good. So the fact that you lost this game, you're very concerned. But they battled back, and now sitting at 1-1, you can sit there and go, maybe this was the spark that we needed. You're going to have to do it without Saquon, your top playmaker for the next couple of weeks. But clearly, the Giants, for me, that was a season saver, even though it's that early.
Yeah.
To drop to 0-2 and losing a game that you needed to have might not have been the way you wanted to, but needless to say, you walk out of there with a victory.
I like this stat line right here. This 26 for 37 and 321 yards. Daniel Jones really took over the game, and that's something that I really thought was awesome to see. 31 points scored in the second half to win that game.
Whammy. And their defense only gave up 8.
Yeah.
phenomenal turnaround. Now, can you put it together for a full game in week 3? Time will tell. My most exciting game, though, Brad, was that Lions-Seahawks game in Detroit. I mean, that first off, last year they did almost the exact same thing. It was even a higher scoring game.
Yeah.
But man, was that entertaining. It was back and forth. And then the first play of the second half, handoff to David Montgomery, fumble, Seahawks score to get right even again in the game. And, or sorry, to take the lead in the game. And no, I lied. It was the tie of the game. And it was 14-7 at the half. 14-7 at the half. Final score 37-31. Geno Smith, after a rough game against the Rams, goes in there, goes 32 of 41, 328 yards, 2 tutties. And they found a way. Yes, the Lions then at one point, David Montgomery left the game with what they're calling a bruised thigh. Amon-Ra St. Brown left with what they called cramps. And then there's just Jared Goff out there battling it out. He threw it for over 300 yards. They forced overtime, and then Geno didn't give the Lions a chance to even go out there to tie or win the game because he put it away. Just a really overall fun football game to watch.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're a Lions fan, I wouldn't be too discouraged by this either because they still played a solid game. This guy, Josh Reynolds, also is going to be a stud for them. Amon St. Brown's going to get all the attention, but Josh Reynolds also doing,
He's had a great first 2 weeks and
yeah.
coming over. You know, everyone thought he would have worked out better for the Rams where he came from.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's settled in with this Lions team. And Sam Laporta, the tight end, the rookie tight end. Tight ends as rookies aren't supposed to have a lot of success.
Right. Unless your name's Mark Andrews.
Unless your name's Mark Andrews. But even in this case,
yeah.
Laporta, 5 catches, 63 yards. He looked like a stud. But that's why I think the Seahawks team on the other flip side of it, Brad, this is why I thought this offense could be very good.
Yeah.
You have some really solid pieces. You have Metcalf, Lockett, Noah Fant, your tight end. You have 2 running backs, which is led by Kenneth Walker right now. And then Geno Smith has proven he is not, for me, it's not a 1-year thing. I think he's going to be a very talented player. Sorry, let me reverse that. I think he's showing his talent as a player. He's older, but he was able to show that he deserves to be a starting quarterback and can lead this team in Seattle.
Yeah, it's just everybody kind of forgot about him for a while.
Yeah, well, they wrote him off, and we're talking about coaching. The Jets and him, and maybe it was him being immature or something. It was part
because Rex Ryan. I don't know if I would. I mean,
but it's
legendary coach.
But it's part on the player. You got to take responsibility.
Yeah,
and Geno and he even said there was parts of his game he wished he took more responsibility or he needed to adjust to, and he didn't. And the other part is your team putting you in a position to have success. It's a combination. The best thing for Geno is going to back up Russell in Seattle, learn, continue to grow, continue to mature. And then when your time comes again, seize the moment. And he sees the moment.
Pete Carroll's also an amazing coach.
Oh, he is. And that's why I actually took
He's winning no matter who's there.
That's why I took the Seahawks in this game, is because Pete Carroll, it just felt like there was such a disappointing week 1. No way they're going to let that happen again. And here we are. The NFL is doing well. So, we got a Geno comment?
Yeah. Adi Mahmoud says Geno Smith was definitely happier knowing that Aaron Donald didn't have a free rush on him. Just referring to last week's play where you overheard him on a hot mic saying, "Oh my God," as Aaron Donald was rushing towards him. But he said he must have felt like he was in the middle of a nature documentary about lions on that play last week. Yeah, for sure. That was something. We talked about that. And I think we showed that clip as well. But man, Geno Smith, top 5 quarterback last year, and has the potential to do that again. It's just kind of amazing to, we talk about coaching and systems and being part of good systems and good organizations. Geno Smith, you put a quarterback like that in, and I don't care who it is, you put him in a bad situation, they're going to play poorly. And it just so happens that Geno's in a good spot now. And you can see, obviously, his potential is being seen.
Yeah. I mean, they can win games. Yeah. They can win games, and the Niners are going to win that division, but they are definitely proving that they should be a playoff. They have the abilities to be a playoff team yet again. That's our goal, or that should be their goal. And honestly, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm a Ravens fan first and foremost. I root for the Seahawks just because I do like what they're building. I've always enjoyed what Pete Carroll does, and I love a good story. Geno Smith's a great story
Yeah.
to see him continue to have success in the NFL. Oh man, we did just touch on this. We did just miss on this one. We did touch on the Packers, but just because you're bringing it up, we'll bring it up again. Yeah, I mean, epic collapse by the Packers, and credit to the Falcons. If you had told me that they would be down 12 points and you're going to have to throw yourself more back into the situation, even though they kept running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
But Bijan Robinson was great. You got to give credit to Desmond Ridder, and the Falcons found a way.
Yep.
And the Falcons style right now is proving that they can run the football and give the ball to Bijan 15 to 20 times a game or more, which they did, and let Tyler Algier get his touches as well, over 15 as well. Falcons are going to have a chance to win a lot of games or kind of suck the life out of the other team. They control time of possession, but for the Pack, hey, you got to wash it.
Still a fan of Jordan Love. Nothing to worry about.
Oh, no. Jordan Love is – if you're a Packers fan, you can't be upset. If you said you'd be 1-1 to start the year with Jordan Love having 6 touchdown passes to start it off, you take it.
Your season's far from over.
You're good, and you're 1-1. Guess what? The Lions are 1-1. Everything's still ahead for them.
Could have been a Bears fan. Let's put it that way.
Oh, you could be, but hey, Falcons. Maybe the NFC South will have a champion in Atlanta. Who knows? We'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Moving on. So I wanted to pose this question to you, Ryan. Couple of things, but one thing I wanted to cover is now that we're in week 2, we still got 2 more games to finish out the football week, but we do now officially have 0-2 and 2-0 teams. So the first question that I wanted to ask you in regards to that was, out of the 0-2 teams, who's most likely to make the playoffs out of that?
The 0-2 teams. Well, that, what's interesting with all this, and we just talked about it for those that are tuning in. If you heard us, we do not believe it's the Bengals in this case.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
At all.
So to give you guys the rundown of all the teams that are 0-2 currently at this moment, because I think that can paint a picture. Okay. Patriots are 0-2, Chargers, Broncos, Bengals, Texans, which that's not them as well, Cardinals, Vikings, Bears, and Panthers. Okay. So which team do I think has the best chance to still make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Even though it's going to go hand in hand here in a second, I still believe.
I know what you're going to say.
You do know what I'm going to say. I still believe it is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they still have the roster to be very good and to be a very talented team. There's no reason why they shouldn't be in the playoffs. And I'll leave it at that because that will answer the next question. Who do you have?
I'm not ruling out the Patriots.
I was looking at them for a little bit too, but disappointing home loss. Two home losses.
But they almost beat the Dolphins. Or they at least almost tied that game. And I think there were some mistakes that were made, but there's some really good bright spots. And I think that with Bill O'Brien being there, still trying to get everybody used to the offense there, I think Gesicki hasn't been utilized yet to his full potential. With him and Hunter Henry on the other side, I think that that's going to be a really dynamic duo. And Mac Jones, I don't think has really fully reached his potential either. We talked about that a week ago as well on that. We thought potentially this could be Mac Jones' breakout year. And while they are 0-2, that the New England defense is good. I mean, holding the Dolphins offense to what they held them to, I thought was impressive. They just need to get the offense back on track and get them together. And the last time that the Patriots were 0-2 was in 2001. And we know what happened then.
Well,
not saying that it's going to happen.
So you're telling me your chance if you're a Pats fan. They also have faced some tremendous. I will say the thing that scares me a little bit with New England, if
they have a tough schedule.
If they don't beat the Jets next week, then full panic mode.
Yes.
Because you got to win that game, but then you still have to go play the Cowboys. You have to go to Vegas. You got to play Buffalo. You got to go to Miami. Obviously, you got to play the Chargers. You got to play the Chiefs. The road's not getting any easier, but the Patriots against two teams with Super Bowl aspirations and the Eagles and the Dolphins, you had a chance to tie or take the lead in your first two games, which I guess that's all you can ask for, but they're going to have to find more ways to win if they're going to find a way. So flipping to that, then, if we're staying with 0-2, though, let's go to 2-0.
Well, real quick, I just wanted to cover this. So just to stick on the Patriots real quick, because there is still some incredible coaching going on. And this is why I just can't rule them out yet for making the playoffs. From strictly talking from 0-2 teams, you had the Chargers, which is fair. And we'll get into that Staley conversation with the Chargers in just a moment. But with Bill Belichick, the way that he coaches these guys is absolutely incredible. And Pat McAfee actually showed us just how well coached this team is on this blocked field goal. If you guys didn't see this, there was a blocked field goal last night that really kind of shifted this game into you thinking that perhaps the Patriots were going to pull this out, that they were going to go in and upset that they were going to upset the Dolphins. And I thought at this moment too that there was that potential. So just take a listen here on what Pat McAfee actually had to say as he breaks down this blocked field goal. I thought this was incredible.
There has to be an indicator that would send old schooler who ends up blocking this kick. Here, let's just run through it here. So for those that didn't see it, standard operating procedure, here's a field goal. Okay, need to have it. Sanders, great kicker. Holder, Jake Bailey, formerly of the New England Patriots, will be a piece of information. And Schooler comes off the edge. Perfectly timed. Canadian Football League on the run. Arena League on the run. Doesn't cross the line of scrimmage. As the ball moves, he goes. Guy has no chance of blocking him. Now, let's look at it from the wide view here. That's my play. We will get to that. Let's get to the wide view here. So you see him standing all the way out there. What's he eyeballing? Well, he's looking at the holder. He's not looking at the snapper. You see, there would be a chance he'd be looking this way because the snapper might give something away. So there are times where a snapper, right before he'll snap, he'll either lift his head up or lift his head down, and then he'll throw the ball. It's like a twitch almost, like something that just happens in it. So there are times where you do that. But instead, this time, they are looking directly at the holder, okay? So then you got to think, well, what is the indicator? Well, it had to be something with the holder that would tell Schooler to go on a sprint and change the entire game. So let's go back to that back view, shall we? Let's watch the holder, right? Because Schooler already told us that we're watching the holder. Keep an eye out here, okay? He's going to look back at Sanders, ask Sanders if he's ready, and then very slightly, he is going to go with a deep breath, seemingly. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's going to look like.
Subtle.
That's what it's going to look like. So keep your eyes peeled to this man's head, okay? This holder's head. Watch it. See that? Right there.
Was.
Did you see it?
Wow.
Did you see it?
That's small.
I seen it.
Did you see it?
I seen it.
Okay, now that you've seen it, we'll look at it from the other angles. Little bit of a head dip. It feels like it's almost like it's a breath out, like a breathing air out.
Yep.
And that sends Schooler, okay? So
Now that as a former special teams coordinator, that has to be something that John Harbaugh just had to have watched over and over again. You got to think that a guy like him would be pumped to see a play like that. But I just wanted to show that just to kind of illustrate the kind of coaching that we see from Belichick and that he's still just an absolute legend. Despite that, whatever opinions you have about the Patriots, they don't need to win another Super Bowl because they've won enough. But you just have to appreciate that. There's that subtle, like just taking a deep breath and that they had to have practiced that scenario God knows how many times leading up to this game. So I thought that was really impressive. And this is another reason why I just think that I'm not ruling them out to make the playoffs this season just yet.
Yeah. And I think the other crazy scenario with that is the execution, the attention to detail. And then the fact also it caused the Jason Sanders. I'm 1,000% certain on that. Of course, they did the same thing again. The timing's off, but the thought's already planted in Sanders' head of, is this guy going to come flying through the air again?
Yeah.
I need to get this off. And Sanders missed it wide left. So it was really cool. Unfortunately, the Patriots didn't, capitalize on it. But, man, great breakdown by McAfee. Great moment to watch. The guy flying through the air. Who doesn't love seeing some action? Guy making a play. And that attention to detail and the timing of it. Those are the little things in sports where if you studied enough and you work on it enough, it can pay off. And for the Pats,
somebody was watching film.
Somebody was
Holy
watching Philly.
shit.
You ain't kidding. You ain't lying.
All right. So now getting on to the 2-0 teams. You know, we like to always think about there's a chance, but what if there isn't? So we have a lot of 2-0 teams, but what if there is a 2-0 team that doesn't make the playoffs? There's a couple of 2-0 teams that I think have had some soft schedules so far. And so for me, Ryan, I think that the 2-0 team that may not make the playoffs will be the Commanders. The only reason I'm going to say this is because the Commanders do have a really tough schedule, and the teams that they've beaten so far have been pretty shitty teams. And so I think I actually think most of the 2-0 teams right now, we got the Dolphins, Baltimore, obviously, and then the Commanders. I think most of these 2-0 teams deserve to be 2-0, even the Cowboys. But I'm not quite sure the Commanders are there yet. They still have to prove it to me. And if they go in and beat some of these teams, such as the Eagles, the NFC least has turned into the NFC beast. The entire division is tough to beat. So I think that if the Commanders can come in here and show us that they are for real, then maybe I'll change my tune. But out of the 2-0 teams, I think the Commanders have the least likely chance of making the playoffs.
Well, you know, I agree with you on that. I think that the Commanders, awesome story. I want to see them do well, but they have a lot of work to do. And we're talking about dominant defenses, and why the Commanders are playing better is their run game. Brian Robinson was tremendous yesterday. And yes, Sam Howell
did good too.
He did great, but you're going to have to run the football for them to have success. And who's it hard to run against? The Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So they're going to have to throw it well against those teams in their own division. So time will tell. And they still have some very, very tough games as we're going to point out what they have. Buffalo upcoming.
Yeah. They have Buffalo, Philly back-to-back.
Woof.
If they could go 1-1, I'm sold. They're going to the playoffs.
So you got Buffalo, Philly, then you get to play Chicago.
They should win that.
And then Falcons, Giants, Eagles, Pats, Seahawks, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins.
Yeah. That's a tough schedule.
It's tough. You know what? I'm going to flip this on it, and I'm going to take for a 2-0 team. I think there's only going to be one team from the NFC South that's still going to be in it, even though they're off to great starts.
Yeah.
And for me, I just don't know if I'm fully sold yet on the Falcons being the team yet. I could make the point for the Falcons or the Bucks. I really could. And the Saints win tonight.
For either one of them not making.
Yes, I think any of the three. If the Saints win tonight and they're 3-0, one of those three
2-0.
2-0. Sorry, one of those three teams are not. That hasn't convinced me otherwise. And specifically, if you're looking at schedule, we talk about the Bucks getting off to a hot start. The Bucks still have to play the games in their division. Then they still have to play the Eagles coming up on Monday night. They win that game. That's a huge boost. They got to go to Buffalo. They got to play the Titans. Got to play Jacksonville. Go to Green Bay. Go to San Francisco. That's a very tough schedule. And then if you're flipping to the Falcons, and this is where it gets interesting as well, I love their style of offense, how they're playing, as far as that they're staying true to themselves. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
That you have to then go and beat the Titans. You got to beat the Vikings. Actually, when I'm looking at it more, I'm definitely leaning the Bucks. Shout out to you, Falcons. You might have a better chance because you do get to play the Cardinals. You do get to play the Bears. You get to play the Jets. And then if you take care of the Colts at home, I think that's in favor of them. So I'd say only one of those teams is still coming out of the NFC South, even if there are 3 2-0 teams. And I think the Bucks, now looking at it a little bit closer, they might have the most challenging with their schedule.
Yeah.
Now, real quickly, most disappointing. Do you want to? Should I just go ahead?
I'll start.
Okay.
Because we both agree that this is the most disappointing team in the league.
Perfect.
So I want to start with this though. Oh, the top 2 highest paid players in the league combined are 0-4. Just think about that for a second. The top 2 players in the entire NFL, top highest paid players are 0-4 combined, and that is Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. Now, I will say that Joe Burrow being injured, maybe not his fault. We're gonna give him a pass here. I'm also gonna give Justin Herbert a pass here because it's not on Justin Herbert.
No.
50 points scored in the last 2 weeks for the Chargers. Justin Herbert hasn't turned the ball over once, and they are 0-2. Tell me how that happens, Ryan.
2 losses by combined 5 points. You lose by 2 at home to the Dolphins, where Tua and Tyreek just went berserk. And then you go to Tennessee and you drop a heartbreaking game to the Titans, and you're sitting at 0-2 now in your division. And so that's why it's disappointing. The talent on their team,
it's ridiculous.
And I know that they're missing Austin Eckler this last game, and Eckler's done everything. But I just feel it's the same narrative that's happening over and over. Like last year, the Chargers were supposed to be the team, and then you lose that tough playoff game, which got Brandon Staley all fired up, which we're going to jump into right now. And this is a reference. A reporter asked him, is that playoff loss still being felt in the locker room right now?
I'm not worried about the Jacksonville loss. The Jacksonville loss hasn't carried on to the season whatsoever. If you've seen our training camp or you've seen the way we played in the first 2 games, it hasn't had an impact on our team whatsoever. Our team is connected. Our team has played its heart out in 2 games, and we've lost 2 tough games. But it has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game. And if you ask anyone in our locker room, it has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game. And that's just the truth. It's a convenient storyline for you and for everybody else, but it's not the truth. We've lost 2 tough games, but the guys in that locker room, the men in that locker room, they are finishers and they have what it takes, and we're excited to prove ourselves.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, he's right. I mean, as a player, you don't give a shit about what happened last year. You're frustrated, but
they are 0-5.
You can't
going back to last year.
You can't deny the pressure that Brandon Staley is under as a head coach.
Yeah,
because the drum just continues to beat louder for Brandon Staley, because everyone thought he should have been fired last year after they had that meltdown in Jacksonville. How do you lose a game when you're up that much? Whatever it may be. But then in this case, if you're trying to challenge the Chiefs, you have every piece there to be a very solid football team, really arguably one of the best. But then to me, the Chargers, if I face them, it's not a team. I go, this is a very tough team, but in tight moments, I feel that we're going to pull it out. That's what it's becoming. So when we're talking about coaching in other places, the hot seat on Brandon Staley is firing hot. And now you got to go and play the Minnesota Vikings, who are also 0-2 and disappointing. And you have to find a way to win close games. And yes, they won close games last year, but this is 2023 now. And right now at this moment, you have 2 losses by a combined 5 points.
Yeah.
There's that is a fact. It's a reality. Your star quarterback hasn't turned the ball over, and you still have are 0-2. And Adam Shine had a tweet out that said Brandon Staley's Chargers are the first team in NFL history to be 0-2.
To be 0-2, to score 50 points and no turnovers. Usually you talk about winning the turnover battle, you win the game, and the Chargers haven't done that. They haven't turned the ball over and scoring enough points to win the game, yet somehow they're coming out with losses. And to me, the only explanation is the coaching, the play calling. That has to be it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. It's part play calling, but part of, so we talked about this with baseball, by the way, of being in tight situations and being able to, why the Orioles are doing so well this year is because they're winning in tight moments.
Right.
And it's
finding ways to win.
Finding ways to win. You're saying, oh, well, you're getting lucky. No, when you do it a lot, it's a skill.
Yes.
To win close games is a skill. And you either are capable of doing it and you show that you can do it, or you can't. And this 2023 Chargers team is off to a terrible job of that, because when the moments get tight, they haven't found a way to close out a game, to get a victory. And in the National Football League, just like any professional league, you have to take advantage of that. There's a reason why for the Ravens this year, why you go to Cincinnati and win a game, close game, you find a way to win. That is a part of it.
Mike Vrabel found a way to win, and he does. I mean, and that just
and that's again, coaching. And
right,
if you and that's the other part of it. Now that's why I went back to the Chargers are so talented. But if you get into a close game with them, if I had said we're in a close game with the Titans or the Chargers, I'd rather it be with the Chargers than the Titans, because of the dog mentality that the Titans have. And you can tell they have been there to do it. The Chargers right now, teams don't fear that if they are in a close situation, that they can't beat the Chargers. And clearly that's still happening. Ryan Tannehill also, by the way, doesn't get a lot of credit, and they say he's just a game manager. Well, the dude was 20-24 for 246, a touchdown. And in a game where everyone thought the Chargers should win, he still proved that in the big moments, he could still make plays to swing the victory in his team's favor.
20-24 is an amazing stat, but just goes back to the fact that they scored 27 points and he only had to throw the ball 24 times.
Yep.
That's you talk about coaching and play calling and efficiencies like that's what it comes down to. Derrick Henry didn't even have 100 yards this game. So you can't even just say, oh, well, they ran the shit out of the ball. No, they just found ways to score. They found ways to win. And
well, you know what? They didn't have the yardage, but they stuck to their game plan. That's what they were going to do.
But it goes back to coaching.
And that's the thing is I do love the Chargers talent, but you're sitting there going, man, it's like the same thing when you looked at all the talent in the world's not going to buy you wins.
Right.
You got to go out there and compete, and you have to go out there and close out games. And if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself being at 0-3. And the Vikings also are another team that had a tough time of putting together wins, not closing games they should. Last year, they won all the close games, but now you're sitting at 0-2. Can you figure it out? We're going to find out in week 3. Yeah. With that being said, most disappointing, we'll go on really quickly. Most impressive 2-0 team to you?
The most impressive 2-0 team for the sake of just sounding like a homer, it's the Ravens. Most complete looking team to me is the Ravens right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other really good looking teams. Cowboys actually look good. Dak looked like a really good quarterback this week.
Looked like a star
against the Jets team that we thought was a good defensive team, just didn't show up this past week. And Zach Wilson threw 3 interceptions. Micah Parsons is playing out of his mind. And so
ridiculous,
but that's not necessarily, it is impressive. I don't want to dismiss that, but I just think that the Ravens have everything that they need to be a Super Bowl contender this year. And so I'm going with them.
Hey, I love that pick. And I'm just going to go with, for me, most impressive so far, I'm going to give it to the Dolphins at 2-0. And mainly because their 2 wins have been on the road. They went and they still had issues, but what I loved seeing with them was they got torched on the ground in game 1, torched, and then they really stepped up in game 2. And that defense for the Dolphins was flying around the field last night against the Patriots. And then it just feels like even when they're not clicking on all cylinders, they still seem like a well-oiled machine. Raheem Mostert proved that he can still be a weapon in that backfield.
He's a dude.
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle is still arguably the most lethal duo wide receiver in the NFL right now. I know people can get upset about it, but they have ridiculous speed, ridiculous playmaking ability, and Tua looks confident.
Yeah.
They look very confident in the fact that they're 2-0 now and they get to go back home. I think that's going to help with them moving forward, because if Tua plays, this Dolphins team is going to have a chance to go places that they've been dreaming and hoping for years.
In the NFC, you got the 49ers, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But the Cowboys have outscored their opponents 70-10.
Cowboys are playing well. I still like San Fran as a team to beat out there, but we can dive more into that later. You know what? Before we got a couple more segments here and then we're getting out of here. I know we're running a little bit later, but hey, it's a part of it. This is what we do. This is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I did want to touch on how we did last week, because then we're going to make our final 2 picks for this week.
Yeah.
And then we'll do 2 more.
Oh, yeah.
So, and actually, before we do that, I'm sorry, I'm getting way off here. We have not talked about I already pronounced his name like 10 times. I'm going to mess it up. Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
I think I pronounced that right.
Of the Rams.
Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams, or Paku Nacua. Paku Nacua?
Yeah.
I just had this right. You know when you do something all the time, and you know what grinds your gears when you keep pronouncing things right and you're like, yep, I got it, then you get in the moment. Nacua. I know that's right. That dude has done something extremely special. In fact, so special, the article just written by Kevin Patra on NFL.com was saying he has now broke the record for most catches through the first 2 weeks in NFL history as a rookie. He's got 25 catches, which beat Odell Beckham Jr.'s first 2 games back in 2014, where he had 23 over a 2-game stretch. Then you also have Nakua becoming the 5th player and first rookie to have in the Super Bowl era 10-plus receptions and 100-plus receiving yards in each of his team's first 2 games, Cooper Kupp being the other one, also Los Angeles Ram. And he was a 5th round, I think he was a 5th round pick, if I'm not mistaken, from the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, I'm losing my mind because we're getting late into this.
You're good.
But the dude is balling out.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
And they play the Bengals next week, so it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough for the Bengals. I'm telling you, not gonna be pretty. They go 0-3, which could be very likely against this team that a lot of people thought wasn't gonna be good. And Matt Stafford said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, Matt Stafford's saying I'm healthy and I got a stud named Nakua. Who needs Cooper Kupp? You kidding me?
Yeah, and imagine when Cooper Kupp comes back. Shit.
Yeah. Well, and like they're similar players, but it's showing that Matt Stafford trusts him.
Yeah.
And they're looking for that second wide receiver behind Cooper Kupp. If you can find a way to put both those players into your scheme, the Rams might have their 2 guys moving forward, and that's something that would be great news for them. And the Rams, talking about coaching, Sean McVay has done a tremendous job out there. And I do believe in what Sean McVay does. And by the way, you still have Aaron Donald, arguably the best.
Yeah.
Still the best defensive player in all of football.
Bottom line is the Rams do not suck.
Do not suck. Do not suck. I did want to mention this one as I thought it was a cool point. And actually, it's kind of our going deep moment doing fantasy football with the Iron Rooster Ripken Rumble League. It's been fun. If you guys missed out on this year, hopefully you get on it next year. But the going deep play of the week, and it's brought to you by Deep Eddie on this one, and big Deep Eddie guy. They're great to work with.
Deep Eddie lemon and unsweet tea.
Yeah,
my go-to.
I did not expect that, and that might be a game changer for me.
You got to try it. You got to try it.
I know, but when you said that, I blew my mind.
Yeah,
blew my mind. But the play that I'm specifically talking about was on the first game of the week, actually, for week 2. Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith with a big play. It was on, I believe, a 3rd and long situation. Got it right here. 63-yard touchdown pass that really kicked off the second half, which turned into a barn burner in Philadelphia. But that was the going deep play of the week. Great throw by Jalen Hurts. And Devontae Smith capitalized, and Devontae Smith balled out that game too, by the way. Only 4 catches, 131, and a tutty.
I was kind of pissed because A.J. Brown didn't really show out.
Yeah.
I have him on my fantasy team.
I could tell.
I picked him over Devontae. And he hasn't really done much. I'm just waiting for the breakout week. Maybe AJ breaks out.
It's next week.
They're gonna double team Devontae, and then AJ will have a day.
It's next week. Hey, now we'll close it out here. There's 2 games left.
Yeah.
We did talk about them in the preview.
Yep.
And for updates for people that were wondering, Pittsburgh Steelers announced that Deontay Johnson, their wide receivers, put on IR.
Yeah.
So he is going to miss a minimum of 4 games. So 2 games tonight: Saints, Panthers, Browns, Steelers. Games in Pittsburgh. Let's start with the Saints, Panthers. Who do you got?
I got Saints, and I think it's going to be easily the Saints. Derek Carr, they look great last week. Lattimore already has
a defense is tough.
Yeah. So against a rookie quarterback, I think it's actually going to be a pretty boring game, to be honest with you.
I think it's a tough assignment for a rookie quarterback going against a Saints defense that has continuity and that feels like they're going to bring some pressure and some problems to him. So I'm with you. I think Saints roll. Derek Carr, better quarterback in the matchup. What about Browns, Steelers in Pittsburgh?
This is going to be an interesting one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. TJ Watt, even though it didn't look like it, if you just looked at the score against the 49ers, TJ Watt showed up. 2 turnovers, I think, 3 sacks, something like that. I'd have to double check that. I might have that flipped. But either way, still just putting up stats like a monster. And then you have, Myles Garrett on the other side. I just think that it's going to be a really defensive game. Don't see that there's going to be a whole lot of scoring there. I also worry about the Steelers now. And the Browns look damn good against the Bengals. So I think I'm going to go Browns tonight.
And by the way, you were right. 5 tackles for TJ Watt, 3 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass deflection.
Yeah.
Literally did everything.
Yeah.
I am concerned a little bit, but I still trust Mike Tomlin. And we talked about teams having trouble. The Bengals had trouble with the Browns. I'm taking Pittsburgh tonight. I think Pittsburgh avoids going 0-2. I think they find a way to win this game, even though I think the Browns are a better team.
Got another good stat for you. The last 20 times that the Steelers have played Monday Night Football, they have not lost.
Woo! So you're telling me we're putting money down on the Steelers tonight?
Yeah.
Well, and
is it the first time that they lose in 20 Monday Night Football?
Well, so for this week, though, by the way, we're going to tell you right now, Brad and I overall solid weeks for our picks. Brad's 8-6 on the week, and then yours truly, your boys 10-4.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We'll go on Thursday to talk about how we did on our dog bets, how we did wise. We had 3 dogs we bet on last week that underdogs that won outright. That turned out pretty well. So hopefully we have that magic again this week. But hey, I think that's all we got. My grind my gear is not being able to practice something so many times and then mispronounce the name. That was mine. I was pretty pissed off about that.
Mine was just technology. I'm so pissed.
It's Puka Nakua.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, why am I doubting this? Pissing me off. I know his name. That's his name. Puka Nakua. Puka Nakua.
Watch how you say that too fast.
Yeah.
Something's going to slip.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you on Thursday at 7:00. We are working on having more guests. We've had some conversations that we realized we need some more football guys on here. And so we're trying to work that out. I think that we are on the trajectory of having a consistent football presence here on the show. So we're working towards that. Look forward to that as well. And yeah, we'll see you on Thursday. Enjoy Monday Night Football tonight. And anything else?
I still think I'm mispronouncing the name, but that's going to bother me for the rest of the night. But that's all I got. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Thanks for tuning in as always. And we will see you Thursday night for another edition of the Ryan Ripken Show.
See you guys.